What's up, y'all? LTJ Reads is here. This is Throwing Light, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Before we get started, I remind everybody, please, please, please subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can get all the Throwing Light interviews, the Throwing Light tours that are in progress for the next year and so, and a lot of cool content that I'm going to be making personally that has to do, with the community and stuff that just personal that I plan on to try to do this year and accomplish that. So just stay tuned. Please subscribe. If you're following on YouTube, you can go down. There's a link, or you can just look up LTJ is here on YouTube, and you can find me there, just like on Instagram. Remember, you can also just if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell too, so you'll know when we're getting these. Please reach out to me if you ever have any questions. With that being said, let's go over and kick over to my immediate leather brother, probably someone I interact with. Um, it's been a bit. It's been a bit. It seems like we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's only been like 3 years. But Jacob Duncan, I would say definitely is. I have a lot of respect for Jacob. I do. I just want to put that out there. I also want to say that I think he's really good at what he does in the community, especially with the production of Austin Kink Weekend. I know him personally. I know that he's a very good intentioned person. Just like all us other human beings, we're not always perfect, but Jacob never tries to be perfect. He just tries to be Jacob. And so I appreciate that a lot. And I'm glad to have him back. It's now this kind of become like an annual thing now. But I'm really interested in Jacob as a person. And I hope you all that are going to Austin Key Weekend this year do have an opportunity just to have a conversation with him and know what he's about. I would highly recommend it. He's very easy to talk to. And I'm there, we're in Texas. I know y'all hear a lot of things about Texas, but I will rally for Jacob. I believe Jacob is a great person, and I'm here. I'm here for him in any capacity, and so I just want to encourage people to get to know Jacob because, like I said, great intentions. He's intelligent, and I think that he has done a tremendous job with Austin Key Weekend. And what I try to tell people a lot, like this event is huge. We Jacob is now producing something that entertains, that educates. We're in Texas, where education is literally like frowned upon now,
I
right?
know. Yeah.
It's like I just want everybody to think of just the balls of trying to put on the biggest kink event, down here in the South, basically over here in Texas. Um, and um and to do that, especially now, it's just it's a brave thing to want to continue doing our traditions and things and continuing to build on things and create community and not give up, not just stop doing things. So I want everyone to take a deep breath and think about how ambitious it is for us here in Texas to do things like this for the community, and which also provide education, demos. There's a contest for leadership. It really, really is a phenomenal time. So I don't want to keep hogging and praising Jacob this whole thing. I just want everybody to just let's celebrate our progress, and let's try to keep doing these things and every year getting bigger and better. For all you guys that are going to be coming to the event, this really is something that really is designed to try to be as inclusive as possible and to try to shed light on various types of communities. And it's effort. So please, I encourage you to come down here and experience Austin Kink Weekend for yourselves. And I'm going to be there, but just come see the variety that it has to offer. With that being said, Jacob, I'm glad to have you here. So as I went on that long opening monologue, it was Saturday Night Live.
I know, right? I'm just expecting to go through and pull out a musical guest here in just a second too. I
And
mean,
now for our musical guest, it's Jacob Duncan.
yeah,
Didn't know that
apparently
was
I'm getting,
coming.
yeah, apparently I get around. So, thanks. It's always good to be here. I'm always happy to go through and do this. It's an interesting time in the world we live in today. Just in general, you've got the political stuff that's going on. You've got some community stuff that's been going on, which I think is now at a simmer, thankfully. There's a ton of different things going on. And I'm just, like I said, I don't want to say that I'm blessed because I'm privileged to be able to go through and help produce an event like this. And it's super exciting to me to be able to go through and bring something like this on. So the more that we can go through and do that, the better to be able to go through and kind of make waves for the folks that are coming behind us.
Uh,
So
So, yeah, well, I mean, you don't know what it's like being here unless you're here. Like, I
exactly.
wonder Jacob, I wonder sometimes if people just kind of like look over there like, we're over there in Texas doing this and that and all that kind of stuff. It's really interesting when you're not in a location and your only access is through social media or the news, but like you don't really know what it's like living in Texas unless you live in Texas. So
Yeah, exactly. And I've lived a few other places and it's definitely different. But being here, the way things go through and catch fire very quickly on social media and stuff like that. And you get messages from like these random out of the way places like, what are y'all doing over there? I mean, what is going on? So um yeah, it's definitely a different place. Definitely a different place. But
yeah. I mean,
happy to be here.
I
Wouldn't be anywhere else.
I'm happy that you're here too. And so, yes, you can. You're okay to watch, Stephen. You're good. And so, so the interesting too, that's going back to just like our environment. Like how have you been adjusting? I don't want to. I'm just you as a person, with everything's going on, and even do you have the political climate in just the back of your brain as you're doing all these things now? Does it feel more urgent?
It does. And so my day job, I work in IT in the day job, and it involves working with, in the government space. We'll leave it at that. So I pay attention to a lot of the stuff that's going on politically and things of that nature. Because those things eventually will affect what I do personally, but they'll also affect what we do with Austin Kink Weekend as well and the events that we produce. Um, you have things like the drag bill from a year or so ago that made its way through the courts and then is now in effect. You've got trans legislation that's happening all over the country. You're looking at things in like Kansas where they went through and invalidated 1,700 transgender persons' driver's license here a few weeks ago. Um, so it's amazing to me that there are so many people that are so hyper focused on less than 1% of the population. And part of me doesn't understand why that is, except to go through and say, maybe they just don't have anything better to do. But the fact that they continue to go through and do it and hound people is it's just mind boggling to me. Um, so, paying attention to kind of the political events and stuff like that, especially when we're putting on an event like Austin Kink Weekend and the things that we celebrate, right? We celebrate kink, we celebrate leather, we celebrate community and coming together and all that sort of stuff. We have to go through and pay attention and keep things like safety, security, things of those nature kind of in the back of our minds as we're preparing for events like this.
You know what? I want to go back to the 1% thing because I've been thinking about that. I think by diminishing transgender, like saying, oh, they're less than 1%, makes it less. But let's just think about the real world and what we live into, and just think about how many transgender people never come out.
Yeah, saying
It's
using the
hard.
number, it is using the number 1% is in no way meant to diminish. It's simply the number or a
Oh no, no,
number.
no, no. I'm
It's
saying I
it's
believe when they say it, they're trying to diminish.
oh, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. They go through and they are definitely trying to kind of diminish and say that those people are wrong for who they are. And I don't, I personally have never believed that it's anybody's place to go through and say that somebody is wrong for being who they are. I mean, you don't live in their shoes, you don't walk a mile down their path. You don't know the struggles that somebody else is going through unless you have gone through the same struggle. And a lot of these folks that have spent so much time and effort have not been through it, have not been in those shoes. So it's super interesting to me how they become so hyper focused on tearing everybody else down. It's not a good way to live your life. I mean,
That's
there's
what they do. They
yeah
just tear things down. They don't build anything.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm happy to go through and see that there are there are people in the kind of the greater community that are like, you know what, look, this is not the thing to be focused on right now. We should be focusing on things like healthcare and jobs and education and making sure people have places to live versus, what somebody's going to do in a bathroom, right?
That is just it's stupid. Like if it wasn't pointed out, no one would care. That's just the thing. It's like they literally just mess with people. That's all they do. It's
Hmm.
literally just messing with people's lives every day. And there's nothing being done to help our lives get better or easier. And it's just a lot of division. It's wild to me that people can accept this as a normal universe. Just asking, like, the thing with pronouns just kind of pisses me off because it's like, who cares about using your brain to be creative with your identity? Like, come on, like,
Exactly. I mean, and I will tell you, I'm probably one of the world's worst at pronouns, but it's not intentional. It's never a situation of like I'm going to provide, use somebody else's pronouns incorrectly or misgender or anything like that. That's never intentional. But to go through and see people bitch because, and I want to say the word bitch, see people bitch about, somebody use he, him, they in their email signature. I mean, come on. There's it's way too much energy. You're spending way too much energy to go through and be focused on something that to me, while to me it's minor, and to them it may be minor, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. It really doesn't.
well, it's kind of like I think that we can just all be polite about how we communicate and educate people about it. I
Yeah.
don't think it's I think that people need to be patient with people that are willing to learn and
Hmm.
give people an opportunity to show you that they want to learn. Don't just because I'm in the boat with you. I just hope that I'm doing right. And if I've done wrong, tell me. And you know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Just tell me and I will correct it immediately. That's anyone that knows me or whatever like that. Like tell me who you are if you need to tell me who you are.
Absolutely. Anytime you meet a new person, it's an opportunity to learn something new, whether it's about them or about their environment, their experience, or anything like that. And I'm definitely on the in the same boat as you are. If I go through and if I've committed an offense, whatever that offense may be, come to me, tell me, let's talk about it. Let me explain to you why I did it. Let me hear what you felt and what you've got to say, and let's work it out. There's I keep going back to energy, right? There's not enough energy. There's not enough time today in the day to be focused on things like this. And this you see it a lot in our community, right? Where we go through and we tend to focus on what, we're like a dog, running down the road catching a bumper on a car, as it just doesn't make a lot of sense why we spend all this time focusing on things that we can very much fix if we took the time to actually speak to people as equals.
And that's what they don't get. Right now, the environment for us to even use pronouns is being destroyed. So it does it. The fight right now is, yeah, it's not that we don't want to use them. We are losing the capability of communicating that way. And
Hmm.
so if now they're trying to say this is not like, let me use a good example. I want to go back to the 2000s when we used to start say, oh, that's gay. Like when something was stupid, we use that as gay. Okay. That was a living during George W. Bush times thing that arose in that conservative area that was acceptable to say in public.
Hmm.
Said it at school. I was in school in high school. That's gay. Saying that was an acceptable thing to say. Okay, so when Obama comes into office, they start these commercials that come on PBS and stuff about not saying that. So you got to get the people in power to let us have the culture. They've taken the culture away. So
Hmm.
as much as we want to be, on top of our pronouns, right now, what is giving us the ability to communicate in that way is being dismantled. We need to
Hmm.
focus on that, and then we educate and get correct.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're seeing money taken out of education. You're seeing money taken out of public media. I mean, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is in the process of being shut down. Who knows what's going to happen to PBS stations across the country? You have NPR that's lost its funding. Just those are just some examples, right? I'm sure things like the Ad Council, which, if you remember right, the Ad Council, they went through and put out a ton of public service announcements way back, in the 80s and 90s and 2000s about, don't do drugs, don't do this, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, what have you. And um, they're starting to see that funding kind of go away as our society becomes, and I say it's probably a lot more here. Just in general, as our society becomes more divided, because you have things like media, you've got left media, you've got right media, you've got center media, and everybody has the same story, but everybody is going through and spinning it a different way, right? And they're all spinning it to go through and get ratings and stuff like that. There's the old saying, back when, before newscasts, like the old 10 o'clock newscasts would be out there, they started chasing ratings, and it came down to the saying is, if it bleeds, it leads, you know, because they are looking to go through and kind of build market share. Now they've all built market share, and now they're influencing public opinion and things of that nature. So that's a lot to say, is like, what are we doing here, right? Why are we so focused internally in our own community working on tearing each other down, while we have an entire wider community outside of us, that's spending enough time, lobbing attacks at us.
So let's hear. Steven just said something. So he brings up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Um, so And he goes, do you care about me? Do you recognize me? Do you respect my right to exist? Priorities over, have you used my correct pronouns, sports inclusivity, etc., which are absolutely important. At the tip of the Maslow pyramid, I associate that with self actualization too, right? Like we're supposed to be enlightened and to expand our minds on the capabilities of what we can do. And I don't think humans don't look back and look at us as a species and see how our whole existence is making art. The cars we drive, I'm saying, like that. We all perform, we get up, we get ready for the day. There are just so many things that you can look at and say are really art, but it's mental slavery. That's ultimately just that. So there we are. For us to know to do better um is not what they want. And this goes back to slavery. Like if you educated the slaves, then they would want freedom. The first thing they start attacking is education, and they've done
Mhm. Yeah, they're attacking education now. They're attacking the right to vote. They're attacking, benefits for people to be able to survive. And um, that's all well and good until somebody comes for them.
that.
You know,
Right,
and
right.
it should never be it. our society should never be an us versus them adversarial relationship. I mean, it should be everybody has the right to exist. Everybody has the right to free thought. But on the free thought piece, don't be afraid if I come and tell you that that free thought that you're having is a terrible thought, right? Um, that's like me walking into the Quick Trip around the corner and saying, I can just pick up a candy bar and walk out. Well, technically, yes, I can pick up a candy bar and walk out, but there are consequences for that. So it's, I don't know. We're at a weird place in our society right now, just in general. Um, we're fighting wars overseas. We're sticking our noses in places that probably it shouldn't go. We're not supporting our folks at home. We're not making opportunities for our folks at home because we're so focused on everybody else instead of dealing with what's in our own backyard.
Infrastructure, man. Anytime someone's looking away of taking care of their own home, that's problematic. Like, we are not taking care of ourselves. And then, like, to go after everything that makes us better, like even mental health.
Mhm.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I do want to go back to the free thought. I'm just thinking, and I'm like, I don't know if most people know what is a free thought. And I don't know if they know if they have and some might think they have free thoughts, but they're like, I mean, people are absorbing Facebook memes. So, but it makes me wonder if they would even recognize what a free thought was.
Well, I think that, and I'm not an expert. I mean, like I said, I work in IT and I produce an event. I'm not an expert,
But
but for me to be able to have free thought, I have to be able to take in all the sources of information that I can, right? And try to balance them based upon the reputation of the information provider, as well as what I may know about what I may know about a particular subject, and then from there, I can build a conclusion on how I address something, how I speak about something, whether, for instance, whether I attend an event or whether I don't, whether I have a relationship with a person or not. Uh, I try to go through and use all the available sources of information. And I'll tell you, sometimes I make mistakes. I mean, we all make mistakes, right? But being able to have the ability to make that mistake and then taking that feedback and taking that feedback honestly and directly, is, at least for me, is kind of what I think is kind of the basis of free thought of what that actually looks like. So,
yeah, we're gonna get over to Austin Kink Weekend in a second. So what what are some things that you do to relax when this takes a lot of work. And what does Jacob do when he's not doing this? Like, how do you decompress?
so first of all, I have an amazing team that I work with Austin Kink Weekend, which I'm going to tell you all about them here in a second, but I want to go through and at least get ahead of that because they do make some of these things a lot easier as far as, I don't have to go through and manage every little thing about Austin Kink Weekend. So I'm a bit of a gamer. I will tell you, I've been playing World of Warcraft for the last 20 years. Um, so I have a group that I play with on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're a group of old folks, and they've entrusted me to go through and help them play, hard content and stuff like that. I DJ, every once in a while. I'm at the Eagle once a month for Daddy's Locker Room. I get lost in old TV series, and I rewatch several of them over and over again. I'm rewatching Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which I think honestly for me kind of built the definition of long story arcs because you can look at things in the first season and you kind of watch them build all the way to the end and see how different little pieces kind of come into play. Um, I go camping. Every once in a while, I'm going to be out camping this weekend, doing some work out at the Texas Conference of Clubs land site, building some stuff out there. Um, there's not enough hours in the day, but I do, I have the work that I do, just the paying job during the day. And then, throughout the day and into the evening, I'm kind of focused on getting this event up to be what I would expect an event to be. So.
Right on. Well, let's talk about the event then. What we got going on, Jacob?
Well, we've got a lot going on. So Austin Kink Weekend is April 16th through the 19th this year. We're trying to stick with a third weekend every year so that we are able to be in place on the calendar. You know when it's going to happen. You can look at the calendar and say, "Oh, I need to be in Austin on that day, on that weekend," right? So we are actually adding this year a new contest, which is going to be now a part of the Texas Titles family and instead of the Texas Leather Titles family. We are introducing the Texas Rubber Ambassador title, which will be a feeder into MIR that happens in Chicago. So we're super excited about that. Hopefully, always happy to see rubber enthusiasts out at the bars and at different events. I'm like, I wish I could wear things like that. Uh, so I'm always happy to see those guys out, and it's another opportunity to kind of bring something new to Texas. Um, this year, we've also partnered with Ray Dalton's F Tour to bring a special party that's happening on Friday nights. It's a side party that's happening at the X Spot space here in Austin. Um, Four lovely gentlemen are going to come and spend the evening kind of mingling and having some fun with attendees to that event. So we're looking forward to that. We've got some different panels this year. We have a producing events in red states, which was just announced earlier today, with producers that actually produce events in red states on, uh, things that affect what we do and how we go through and kind of navigate those spaces. Um, we do have our restorative kink panel, which talks about restorative justice and kind of the whole thing about the way, how we use kink and how that kind of jives with what kind of psychologically. These folks know a ton about what they're talking about. It's going to be a lot of good information that'll be had. Um, of course, we had the vendor market. We have our educational classes. We have a hypno kink class with Coach Paulo. We have Mr. Fire Dancer 2025, 2024, 2025. I forget. It's a 2-year title. Austin Abernathy is going to be doing a kind of a community roundtable regarding HIV and kind of living with HIV. So we're looking forward to that. We've got some great sponsors that have kind of lined up to kind of help us build this as well. So lots of stuff. We pack it all into, a weekend starting on Thursday with pregame and then kind of the opening up of classes on Friday morning. And then, of course, you've got the Mr., Miss, and Mixed Texas Leather Contest with the Texas Boot Blacks and then the Texas Pet and Handler and the now Texas Rubber Ambassador contests that are happening on Saturday and Sunday as well. Lots of stuff going on. So, um, I think I was saying a lot there.
There, no, there's a lot happening at this event. I just want everybody to know, like, I mean, um, it's going to be impossible to do everything you want to do. Like, you definitely should come with kind of a game plan of what you really want to see, and because there are going to be a lot of different things, and this is definitely a great place to come and learn. It definitely, what's great, especially with the key class, is like, like these are judgment free zones. So like, come see what's going on, ask a question, or be curious. Like, this is not Adam and Eve. Like, you can be curious. Like, it's okay. We're not being curious is not a bad thing. Men lie to you. So
Absolutely, we do. I mean, what? So definitely around the classes, we try to have this year we're trying to have new presenters teaching new topics. So to kind of we've had a lot of classes in regards to flogging and branding and that sort of thing. So we decided this year to go through and kind of look at the submissions and say, okay, let's look at some of these newer folks that we haven't talked to before, haven't seen before, and let's see what they're bringing. So we have some great classes, and you're exactly right. Come be curious. It's all about what satisfies you, and you may never know what you might like. I mean, heck, a few years ago, I didn't know that I was actually into impact play. So that's definitely interesting to me. I'm learning things about myself into things like sensory deprivation, which is definitely interesting as well. So, um, you know, come step, poke your nose in, listen to these great people that have know a ton about what they're doing, and maybe find a new kink.
Cool. I will also be doing a crossover, doing throwing light, doing a panel, and I just want to go ahead and say that while we're on this topic, real quick. It's
Yeah.
focused on. So this is a unity of title holders and non-title holders. This is what the panel is about. So we have me, Din Daddy Miguel from Chicago, Tom Keller, former Mr. Leather London. Myself, yes, we have had titles, but we want to use our titles to inspire other title holders to start uplifting our non-title holders. Put your best people in. Just because you're the title holder doesn't mean you're always the best one for the task at hand. We've got to start making sure that people that are really good in our community, that maybe have competed for a title and never gotten it, or anyone that just doesn't desire to have it, that's busting their ass. This is the time to change. This is the time to get it together. We have too many title holders that go around for the title that have no interest in helping the community, and we have people without the title that are very interested in helping the community. So I'm encouraging everybody to come to this event as a unity, as effort for us to start focusing on what's important and not these materialistic things. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited that we're going to have this conversation. This is a conversation that I know a lot of you want to have. This is not a bitch session or anything like that. Everyone on this panel is going to talk about how we work together. That is the conversation. That's all we're going to focus on. This is positivity. So please come. Let's talk about how we uplift other people with our titles in this community. There we
Yeah,
go.
absolutely. I was gonna wait to see if you were gonna go through and toot your own horn there before I kind of spilled the beans. So,
I,
uh,
I just don't want people to be confused on what it's going to be.
yeah, yeah, and you know me, we've talked about this before. Whether it's been here or whether it's whether we've talked about it over drinks at the bar or something like that. My personal belief that a title holder is a leader when they're asked to be and a servant when it's required. And it's more heavy on the servant to the community versus trying to be the de facto. I am Mr. Leather, bourgeois 2026. You have to listen to me because I have something important to say. Um, and I looked at the folks that you've got on the panel. I'm super excited because it's going to go through and kind of give an opportunity to hear from folks that we don't hear from it very often. So looking forward to that.
I do want to say, and I just want to know this, and this is a community thing because everybody needs to play a part in that. Like we really do need to find ways on finding women in our community. And I will say, I'll be quite honest with you for one thing I want to make sure people that come on the show, if I haven't met you, I got to make sure you're a good fit. So you have to forgive me for maybe wanting to meet you in person or things like that. But I will say that and it wasn't here when I tried to do the throwing light panel in New York too. It's work. It's work to find people, and I think we need to start. I know that I'm sure women can tell us exactly why, and you know what I'm saying. That we really need to start having this conversation because I know, and like Austin Kink Weekend, for example, I'm sure as a producer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Trying to give that visibility isn't always as easy as you think it is. And I think people need to be a little bit more mindful if maybe putting a panel together might miss the mark or something like that. I mean, you can just simply tell people, you don't have to go on a witch hunt about it. But what I'm trying to say, you have to need to take into consideration about who's readily available, and a lot of people don't want to this is private for them. So I have run into the situation where not wanting to show your face on a graphic. There's a lot of things to look into, and just I want people to know and realize that don't think people aren't trying. but like we can only, we can only do as much as we can with the amount of time that we got. But I just want to say, I've been going, here in Texas, because I guess it's a little bit closer and easier. When I was doing the tour in Texas, it was, like I found representation. Um, but like if you're an outsider to different communities and trying to get in to figure out where the women are, that's a little bit more of a task. Like we can tell you where the Texas women are because we live here. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. One of the things that we try to do as producers is we try to go through and create space. Because creating space is super important. We want to give everybody the space to come and enjoy and be a part of the community. One of the things that we try to do is we try to make that, try to build a bigger tent, right? To go through and get more people to kind of be involved and learn to kind of share in, kind of the facets of what the community is, right? Yeah, there's some bad stuff about the community. Sometimes we've got some infighting going on. Sometimes we'll say that he said this and I'm not going to talk to him anymore and I'm going to unfriend him on Facebook. Whoop-de-doo. But being able to go through
that sounds like something I told you.
right, being able to go through and kind of provide space is what we can do. Now, on the flip side of that, we can go through and provide the space. And if folks don't show up, that gives us kind of a learning opportunity for us to figure out what do we need to do differently? How are we not addressing those needs? Who can I talk to about trying to figure out how to make things better so that, we're as welcoming as, as I'm saying that we are, right?
Yeah. So I mean, so I don't I want people to understand like doing throwing light is it's producing. And then
Hmm.
with the tour now going places. So, this has now become a part of my brand and my existence. And so I have to get a lot of help. You guys have to understand. I have to ask. I have to ask a lot. And it's, luckily I've built some relationships, but I'm turning to my women in leather a lot of the times and being like, hey, finding a woman for the non-title holder panel wasn't as easy as you think it is. You know what I'm saying? But you have to understand, going by what resources I have, I wish I had the whole world open to me to where I could be like, oh, that's easy. I know this person, they live in this community. I'm learning, and I'm hoping through, and Jacob can attest through these journeys of however we show up in the community, like we want to grow. We want to be able to know where you are. We want to be able to point to the leather person in the small town if we can.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think that's a beautiful part of Austin Kink Weekend too, because we got our rural folk coming out. Okay.
Hmm.
I want to
Yep.
applaud those people coming out where Austin Kink Weekend is literally the only exposure that I mean, you're back. There's so many people living in Leather and King that are in isolated towns, and the internet, and my soul hurts, to think about being a lone leather person in a small town. But it is what it is, and it's true. And I know a lot of Texas people are, they need this event. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah, it's going through and trying to be able to, and I started out as a little gay boy who had AOL internet, popping in the chat rooms and all that sort of stuff. Listen, I probably was doing things on the internet in my teenage years that I probably didn't need to do.
We live the same life.
But that was the outlet I had, right? And being in those small towns of, couple hundred people here, everybody knows everybody, and most of them are related, a few thousand there, a few thousand like that. Being able to go through and offer the space to where it's somewhat close to home for them so they can come be themselves is definitely super important. Something I like to go through and
Being
trumpet it when I can.
yourself, people don't understand how important it is to be yourself, and the fact that people have want to be themselves and have to fight for it is frustrating. But there are people that I guess are okay with not being themselves. You get it. A lot of these people that come for us ignorantly and maliciously, they're hiding their worst selves from people.
Hmm.
They're not good people.
Yeah.
And that's what's the most frustrating part about it. You've got people walking around and throwing religion, saying, "Oh, I'm a Christian," and literally do nothing to help people. to make people feel better about being on this earth, to make people feel like they deserve love.
Yeah, we just have to go through and the biggest thing for us is we have to treat people as we want to be treated. You know, we have to we have to portray that to folks that are outside. And sometimes that's hard. You know, sometimes that's really hard. You know, we just have to get up, put our boots on, you know, get our vest on and go do the thing because if we don't do it, who is going to do it for us?
And I just want to echo, especially in 2026, Austin Kink Weekend happening is a statement of freedom. And I want everyone to think about it. Like, let's stop nitpicking on right now in this time about things that can be worked out through a conversation, an education session, and start focusing on making sure events like these continue to exist and to thrive. Um,
Absolutely.
please, people, when we're going to these events, if you don't jive with everybody, that needs to be something that's dealt with outside the community spaces. Let's be in the community. Let's find ways for and start looking at what makes us be in the community together. Like, oh, you're like ask what this person's into, when you're talking to someone. Walk up to someone at this event, ask who they are, what they do, what they like. This is your opportunity to answer that question honestly,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, because there's no judgment there. I mean, I like to say our space is a no judgment space.
So
You know, we want to go through and provide a space for everybody to kind of come together and be themselves, make connection, um, and learn how to make an impact when they go home, right? So
yeah.
those are, you know, some of the kind of the important things for me. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, myself and Puck and Brendan and Luis and Randy, why we do this event every year is because it's not about us. You know, it's not about us putting on a big event or you know, being a producer of a title or anything like that. It's because we want to build space and give space for others to use. So
And that's at the heart of the event. Um, so we've got the new title. We talked about Texas Rubber Ambassador. I think that's really interesting producing events in red states. I mean, like, hey, let's talk about that for a second because you are producing. You've been behind a lot, Jacob. So, yeah, like definitely. I don't know what Justice League member you would be, but you're on the Justice League for sure.
yeah, I'm starting to say that I get around, and sometimes the boyfriend here at home wonders where I'm at weekend to weekend, just because you know he's not even sure. So you know I get around. I go through and kind of you know I float to different other events to see what they're doing. Try to build you know relationships with other folks. Like we're building a great relationship with a little event in Atlanta called Kink Down South.
Yeah,
And this year they are bringing their spelling BDSM to our space this year. So we're going to have our first kind of game show at Austin Kink Weekend on Saturday, which we're still looking for contestants for. There's a lovely grand prize, and you get a patch too that says you won. So we
what
are
add ups.
we are super excited to be able to go through and do that. But you know, I try to go out and make connections with folks and you know, learn from other folks that are putting these events on just in other places, you know, think places like MAL and you know, I've got a great working relationship with the team at IML that, you know, that we've been building. So, you know, being able to go through and bring things like the mock panel that we do, the mock interview panel that we do at Austin Kink Weekend, it's just you know, that's you know, I try to go through and make connections, make things happen, and sometimes you got to travel to do it. So I do get around a bit.
No, you ain't got to tell me. I mean, I totally understand. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, my
I mean,
my
I relate to you. I have empathy for you.
my club family in Austin Gears is like, are you going to be in town for Gear Night this month, or are you like off doing something else? Like, no, this next month I'll be in Chicago at IPTC, and the month after that I'll be out judging a contest, and you know, it's It's wild.
You know what's wild is like people have been utilizing me more as like a performer. So it's been nice to like be in a different like space. Like when I was at RGB Leather Weekend, I was in the burlesque performance. So like that's all I did. I didn't get to hang out with anyone until we were done with the show. So that was really interesting because people like you're at RGB, they would see me and I'm like, I gotta practice. I'm sorry. So, but and then I did they had a jock auction a couple of weekends ago at the San Antonio Eagle, and I made my Randy impression of doing a jock auction. I'd never done one before. I was like, if Randy can come alive on a microphone, I can do this.
Yep. Yep. And I heard that they raised a ton of money down there
Thirty
for the Thrive Community
$600.
Centers.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
$600. Hey, I was trying to get them prices up there. I tried to work it and get as much money as I could to help that. We were able to get about half of that, and I think the rest of it came from the silent auction and other things like that. So it was a fun time. It went by so quick. But I am very open to working and doing things to help our community here in Texas that, if you need my presence there. So I'm 100% with that. What's the biggest thing that you learned from producing Austin Kink Weekend?
the biggest thing I've learned from producing Austin Kink Weekend is I'm not, well, there's two things. First thing is I'm never going to be able to build the space that everybody is looking for because everybody has different things that they require and things of that nature. I can come close. I can try really, really hard to make it happen. But there's always something that is out. I don't want to say it's out in left field, but there's always something out in left field that I miss. I apologize profusely because I'm human. I'll make a mistake. But I can go through and only do better the next year. Um, the second thing that I've learned is that I don't have to do it all. Like we're building a team. We've got a great team that we've built. We build a team every year to go through and do it. And I'm trying to learn more and more how to take my hands off the wheel and let things happen versus controlling it with a death grip, right?
Yeah.
So, like this year for this year's leather contest, I won't be emceeing. I'm actually going to be kind of watching it and being backstage and making sure that things go off without a hitch, right? Uh, I've kind of stepped back from that role. And honestly, nobody wants to see me on a stage for 4 hours reading a script and trying to keep up with everything that's going on there, right?
What's interesting, our current reigning Texas handler and our Miss Texas Leather, Daddy Gill and Rebel, actually, because we here in Texas, I mean, we talk and we drive to all these cities very often, but they did say two things to me that are very important recently. I'm talking about like this past week we had a conversation.
Hmm.
Daddy Gill was like, ask for help. So I've been trying to. I just want to give a shout out to our Texas handler, 2025, Daddy Gill. He's been an amazing support system in my corner. He's getting a send off party that's coming up. I'll tag him in this so y'all can go support him. He's going to the international handler competition, but and then in Rebel, she says you're not alone, and those are two things I think are really important. And I think you bring up a good point of like, we don't have to do it all. And there are people that are willing to help us if they see we're trying to do something to help the community. So that has definitely been the universe like mentality for 2026 is to ask for help. I've been just taking a deep breath a lot more and be like, hey, like you know,
Yeah. And I want to kind of echo that, kind of that appreciation here for a second. The Texas Huddle family has been, they've been through the thick of it this year. They've gone through and come together. They've learned how to work together, which is great. I've spent a lot of time with Daddy Gill, and I'm super excited to see him be at IPTC. Astro. they're both amazing people. They do amazing things in their community. They're great examples of what title holders should be because they're always giving and giving and giving of themselves. They're not looking to go through and be called the leader. They're not, looking to be the spokesperson or the figurehead. They're constantly giving and giving of themselves. Brett Roll is the same way. So I'm super excited to go through and see them. Pup Verde, I see him at the boot black stand, going through and showing off his boot black skills. It's the Texas boot black.
Yes,
Uh,
I saw him
so
work at RGB.
yeah, so he's going to go off to IMLBB this year. We're super excited to go through and support him. Like I said, I'm going to be flying to Chicago for IPTC. It'll be my first kind of big international pet and trainer event. So I'm super looking forward to that. But I mean, these folks constantly give and give and give and give. And they don't ask for credit. They don't ask for recognition. They don't ask for those sorts of things. They just do because that's what, our community needs.
I agree with you. So yeah, I haven't spent time with the whole crop, but I was a contestant on the stage. Now going, it's going to be the 3 years ago is was my introduction to the community, and I'm just being realistic. But that competition was me, Pedro Coronado, Kevin Hamby, and Beacon Ortiz,
Mhm.
and there hasn't been a contest like that. But let me tell you, that was such a I just want to commend anyone that gets on that stage and do that because it's quite a stage to do that at. You get to meet so different people and you get to show who you are to such a diverse. It can be a life changing opportunity for you, and I want to encourage people to go and support the contest and all these people that are trying to be representatives for the community. But I stepped on that stage and didn't know a lick of anything really. I just knew that I wanted to be a part of this community and I wanted people to see what I could give. And it's just amazing to be here 3 years later and be, a foundation of the community now. And I just want people to not be afraid. And if you feel like you got something to offer or something to say, go for it. Because you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to win. And you just gotta want to be here, and
Mhm.
that's enough. Like if you want to be here, people are going to appreciate you for that. But I just want to say, I did go on to become the first Mr. Austin Eagle, and like it was better for me to be able to develop who I was and figure myself out and try to be the best person I can. But like just if being a part of a contest is something that you really want to be a part of and you want to be a title holder one day, I encourage you to go for it. But don't go on there and think that you got to be a perfect leather person or kink person. Like you just need to be you. So that's the best advice I can give you. But that definitely was a tough competition when I go back and look at it. And but
Yeah.
because everybody ended up having a title in that class, and I got to go and compete with two of them at IML. So just if your journey is to be in this community, just be in the community. And when your time's right, if you're looking to be a title holder, then your time's right. You might never get a title. But again, I encourage you, if you're coming to Austin Kink Weekend, come to my panel with Throwing Light Saturday, which is going to be the 18th at 1:30 p.m. And we're going to talk about things like that. So Jacob, we are towards the end. What is something that you think we need to be shedding more light on in our community?
Whoa, there's so much. We need to be talking, and you kind of touched on a little bit more. We need to be shedding light more on representation, not just, you know, us guys, we're all over the place, right? But we need to go through and focus on representing and how we, make space for people that are not male, to be able to go through and take the spotlight every once in a while. So I think that's important. and I say this probably every year, we've got to highlight just community, kind of being ourselves and learning to work together and learning to build bridges and that sort of thing. We've got to go through and shed some light on that too, because every time I think we're doing a really great job, somehow, some way, we end up tripping over our own feet. So let's go through and work on figuring that out.
But let's like, can we like, if we do trip, can we help each other up? Like that's all
Absolutely.
I ask. Like, I don't want it to be the person tripped and we point at the person tripped on the ground. Like
Oh, absolutely.
that's kind of, you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not our job to turn around and point, right? It's not our job when somebody trips to go through and point and say, "Ha, you failed, you're a
or
bad person."
like,
You know.
and then to go back to, my sentiments about stepping on the stage, like to put yourself out there. Sometimes people, I want you to listen to this very carefully. Respecting people is a great thing to do. And
Absolutely.
when you see someone doing something that you cannot do, it would be best. It would be really best if you just support it and learn and ask questions and try to figure out, or look at that as an opportunity to like encourage people to get back up. You know what I'm saying? And also respect people that are putting themselves out there. Jacob's putting himself out there. A lot of people, and we are not perfect. But again, let's not that's not I don't it's sad to say, I hope we're not celebrating people falling down. Unfortunately, that might be the case. I hate that. um but it can hurt to fall sometimes, and
Hmm.
I think people will need to be concerned with the hurt a little bit more, because it doesn't feel good to barely meet your goal of having something that you want to be perfect, because one piece
One
and
piece can go through and throw it off. You
and
know.
and we have got to stop tearing down things when we are upset with one piece.
Mhm.
Like, it's not Jenga. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not continually taking away from the foundation here. So I just think it's 2026, y'all, and we really, really, really need to just focus on, okay, like, we're not perfect, we're going to make mistakes. How do we help each other get through those mistakes? It would be really great, y'all. I don't think that's asking a lot. It really is, and because it is so exhausting trying to be perfect, extremely exhausting.
Yeah, I've been trying for such a long time, and I
Uh,
just am not meeting the mark.
and you give
So
up at some point and realize that no, you're not going to be perfect. So,
yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
that's our 2 cents. Jacob, there's one last thing that you have to do before you go.
Well, I have one other last thing to do
Go
because
right ahead.
when I come to your podcast, I always bring a little sweet treat to go through and kind of help those numbers, to go through and get to see everybody at my favorite event,
Oh,
Austin Kink Weekend.
I know what's coming. I know.
Yep, yep. I always try to bring a little sweet treat, something to kind of just, wet the whistle, as they say, to go through and make it happen. So if you go to www.austinkinkweekend.com, and if you buy a general weekend pass, I'm going to give you $25 off for that weekend, by using code AKW DADDY 26 at austinkinkweekend.com. Now, I will tell you, as of yesterday, the hotel is sold out. There are no more rooms at the lovely Holiday Inn, which lets us come in and do very kinky things and never says a word to us about it. The rooms are sold out. So we're going to go through and try to get a list of hotels that are close by. But don't make that hotel being sold out uh being don't let that be something that keeps you from coming to enjoy this event. So AKW Daddy 26, AustinKinkWeekend.com. Get your passes. Day passes go on sale April 1st. I try to go through and have a little bit of something, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of candy to go along with it. So,
Well, I will be sharing this, so no worries. And you know what? I'm here in Austin for real. Reach out if you want to know what hotels are nearby Holiday Inn because there are quite a few that you can still be near the venue. So
mhm.
if you're curious, shoot me a message and be like, hey, LTJ, what's another hotel close in the area? And I'll give you an options and even show you a map of where they are. They are not far. There are lots of hotels in this area in Central Austin is where we're going to be at. So.
Yep.
And I knew that Jacob was coming with a special deal for you guys.
Yeah, try to have a little something. So,
Oh, and okay, so yeah, you guys are. If you see this episode, you're going to be seeing this episode rotate for the next 4 weeks. So yeah, this is probably one of the only episodes that do like this, but it's just to keep y'all educated what's going on and let y'all know that Jacob's here if you have any questions. With that being said, I guess that brings us to the end of the episode, and that leaves Jacob with one last thing to do. You
hmm.
know what to do?
Let me see if I remember this correctly this time because I didn't do it correctly last year. If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
Okay, Sherlock Holmes.
We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're more than welcome to come on here anytime, though. If it's not even Austin Kink Weekend, if you need to pump your brand, if you want to come talk about DJing, you got a party coming on, let me know.
Yeah, well,
But
I'm happy to go
yeah,
through and do it.
we'll
Happy
be
to go
talking.
through and fill a spot.
All right, y'all. Well, we are in Austin, Texas, baby, in the red state of Texas. We're here. We're alive.
We're here, we're queer, and we're not going anywhere.
We're
So,
gonna keep that fight going for y'all. So you'll come down here and have some good time with us in the next month. All right. See y'all later. That's been Throwing Light. Bye.